Out of all of my time on planet Earth, I don't think I've ever seen such an abuse of power. I've been in countless Discord servers where the moderation is so unbelievably intense you may as well be in Nazi Germany, and even those servers don't have an abuse of power as strong as what I've just found out about. Now, for those of you that haven't heard of Peanut the Squirrel and Fred the Raccoon before, this is them. These cute little pets are probably friendlier than your neighbor's pit bull, which would rip off your child's head at any given moment, and they've been put down for probably the dumbest fucking reason I've ever seen in my life, and I'm infuriated by it. Now, just for a little bit of backstory context for you guys, the squirrel has been owned by its owners for 7 years, never really showed any signs of rabies or anything like that, and was probably more domesticated than your younger brother who never leaves his fucking room. I mean, all you've got to do is just take a look at their videos of the squirrels. This little fella had so many skills and tricks, so he probably had a better chance of getting the job that you've just applied for. He is one of the friendliest pets I've ever seen in my life, and don't even get me started on Fred the Raccoon. Like, I'm not being funny, but how the fuck could you look at that thing and think, yeah, you know what? That might actually be a threat. You know, I'm looking at the raccoon. He's holding a Dunkin' Donuts cup and eating some cream out of it. That could really hurt someone. Now, all of this drama started off from a couple anonymous complaints. And I just want to say, if you were one of the people that wrote an anonymous complaint, fuck you. The anonymous complaints basically stated that this squirrel and the raccoon might have been dangerous or were just being abused for views on social media, which all you have to do is take one look at the social media pages to see that that is quite the opposite. I mean, how the fuck could a human being even possibly think that? I don't know. Maybe you've just flown in from Stupid Town. Maybe it's fucking opposite day for you. I don't even know. You genuinely have to be a sour piece of shit to think something like that. If you take one good look through the social media pages, all I see is acts of friendliness from the animals. There's literally a video where the animal eats a fucking waffle with its owner. How do you look at that and think, oh yeah, that animal's getting abused, or oh yeah, that animal's really dangerous. Look at the squirrel. God, look at the size of it. He's such a healthy weight. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what would happen if I stepped in that room. It would kill me. I mean, seriously, you are a truly disgusting human being. But anyway, after receiving these anonymous complaints, the DEC decided it's time to put on our swastika badges and stomp into this fucking house. They turned up with pretty much a SWAT team to just seize two animals, a squirrel and a raccoon. So on October the 30th, DEC sees a raccoon and squirrel sharing a residence with humans, creating the potential for human exposure to rabies. Honestly, I don't even understand this. This makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever. Your dog has pretty much a similar chance of getting rabies as this squirrel and raccoon do. I understand these two animals probably have higher chance of getting rabies outside of anything else, but that's probably because they're rarely domesticated, and in this scenario right here, the squirrel had been domesticated for 7 years. But anyway, let's carry on. In addition, a person involved with the investigation was bitten by the squirrel. To test for rabies, both animals were euthanized. Wow. That actually blows my mind. I understand that if you do actually want to test for rabies, you have to kill the animal because you have to take their brain apart. But surely you take into consideration the fact that 1, the squirrel has never had rabies and has never shown any sign of rabies. 2, it's been domesticated for 7 years. 3, it doesn't go outside. 4, how on God's green earth could it ever pick up rabies? Please explain that to me. How the fuck could this animal get rabies? It's not this kind of thing where you're like, oh, let me take a sip of this water. Hope I don't get rabies. And then I wake up tomorrow with rabies. It's not the kind of shit that happens. The only way an animal can get rabies is if it gets attacked by another animal with rabies, or if it somehow shares saliva, which I don't even know how the fuck that would happen for a squirrel which doesn't go outside. And not only that, surely the people that were raiding the house would take proper precautions when coming to collect some animals. You know, maybe wear some thick gloves, get someone who actually knows how to handle these animals properly to do the job. I mean, forget that shit. Get the fucking owners to do it. Just say, hey, look guys, we've had some complaints. We need to come and make sure that the animals are okay. Can we just take them away for a couple of days? The owners would have been like, we're not too sure about that, but you know, if anyone's going to handle them, it'd rather be us. And then the owners could have done it. Why some fat donut eating piece of shit had to go ahead and fucking squeeze the squirrel and then get bitten by it? I don't know. But the thing that really gets on my nerves about this is it's not even like this happened to bad people or just people that didn't know how to deal with the animals. The owners, Longo and Daniela, actually opened up a freedom animal farm and they housed 300 animals looking after them. They owned a fucking sanctuary. I mean, if all people to have this happen to, why these people? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Anyway, some of the imbeciles are arguing for the DEC were claiming that the squirrel should have had the proper certificate to actually be able to be domesticated, which I kind of understand, I suppose, but something I also don't get is why does everything have to be on paper? And not not only that, amidst all of this drama, the owners were actually getting paperwork so the squirrel could become a certificated educational animal. So clearly that alone would kind of show you that, you know what, maybe we could make an exception this one time. I get it, I don't have the piece of paper, but you know what, you've had the squirrel for 7 years, it's on its way to become an educational animal. Oh my, this honestly pisses me the fuck off. Anyway, for those of you that are kind of wondering what the kind of raid would have looked like, please prepare to actually turn red and have steam coming out of your ears. Because this raid involved making the victims sit outside of their home for 5 hours while these maniacs tore up everything. They were denied the right to call legal counsel. They took apart the man's toilet upon escorting him because apparently there could be some important squirrel propaganda hidden in there. Please explain to me how the fuck you're gonna hide squirrel propaganda. I was joking earlier when I was talking about them turning into the Nazi party, but they were actually looking for propaganda. And not only that, they also questioned the wife about her immigration status. I mean, if this doesn't scream abuse of power to you, then I think, you know, you gotta have something twisted in your head. I don't fucking get it. Anyway, the owners also made a post on Instagram, and I just want to read through this just for a bit of respect, just so we can really summarize this as a whole. Today, we learned about Peanut the Squirrel, who's euthanized by the DEC. Peanut the Squirrel had more than 500,000 followers on Instagram and brought joy to everyone who watched his videos. Peanut lived happily with his owners for the past 7 years, only a few short hours away from Buffalo. Yes, you heard that right, 7 years. 7 years is an incredibly long amount of time. Most people's dogs don't even make it past 7 years. So to think that they've been able to look after a squirrel and have nothing wrong with it for 7 years should have shown more than enough signs to the DEC to say, actually, we should leave this squirrel the fuck alone. But anyway, Peanut wasn't hurting anyone. There's squirrels outside our lawns every day, and people who feed them peanuts leave them pumpkins out after Halloween. This particular squirrel had to be euthanized because he was living his best life. We don't understand. I mean, all you've got to do is take a look at the squirrel wearing some badass caps and eating waffles to be pissed off at the fact that your own life is fucking miserable. This squirrel lived probably one of the best lives, if not the best life I've ever seen a squirrel live. Honestly, no, I will say it right here, right now. This squirrel lived the best life any squirrel has ever lived. And the fact that it was short-lived pisses me off. I mean, I understand for a squirrel, 7 years is quite a long time. Most of them probably make it to maybe the 3-year mark, and then they kind of clock out of their shift, and that's about it. So I suppose a squirrel living a long life like this is always nice, but the fact that it was brought to an early end is just fucking devastating. Anyway, not to mention, Peanut wasn't the only one unnecessarily killed, so was his friend Fred the raccoon, another animal they did nothing wrong. Now, I haven't really spoken too much about Fred the raccoon because they didn't actually have Fred for that long. They'd only had him for a couple months, and that was just because they were looking after him until they could eventually release him back into the wild. So to break down the reason why they killed Fred the raccoon, I can't really tell you. It's genuinely just a bunch of shit. They just decided to kill him because he was a raccoon. I'm not kidding. But anyway, this is the biggest abuse of power I've ever seen in my life. You could go in a strict anime Discord hentai server right now, talk about how shit and stupid hentai is, and you would see less of an abuse of power than what you've just seen. But yeah, this story's fucking devastating. Hopefully Fred the raccoon and Peanut the squirrel are chilling up on the Rainbow Bridge right now, having a great time. And yeah, that's about it. See ya.